Greetings, friends, and welcome to the woods. The day that I'm recording this, sharing this with you, is the day of my personal New Year. Now, if you are predominantly a moon centered archetypical person, your New Year is going to be um, All Saints Night, which is commonly known in America as Halloween. If you are a solar person, the way that I am, your new year is going to be the winter solstice, which is when the sun completes its descent cycle and begins to come back to us, the return of the sun. Now, if you are a celestial and you are pulling equally from all aspects of the archetypical spheres, your new year is going to be the very beginning of the wheel, which is uh, the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries. That's spring equinox. Spring is a good time to start, but I need to be soul centered at the moment because I'm needing to bring in vitality and transformation. So for me, the new year is now. Now, what you don't want to do is celebrate the new year at the calendar new year because it has been engineered to begin the calendar when the sun is in Capricorn. Capricorn, that energy, that archetypical energy, that planetary energy, it's all about setting things in stone. It's about keeping things in stasis. It has the power of keeping our infrastructure in place. But what you don't want to use it for is to make change. And so when you attempt to begin a new beginning, a new change in your life, and you center it around January 1st, there's success is not going to be ideal. You want to start it at the solstice or at the spring equinox. Then you have the momentum behind you to really make things happen. Now, I'm getting a lot of negative feedback from it's that time of year again. It's that time of year when Christians celebrate the birth of Jesus. Now, the problem with that is Jesus wasn't born at this time of year. It was assigned to the birth of the Christ because it kind of resonates. The Magi, which is my discipline, they have a acknowledgement of the flame being symbolic of the human spirit and symbolic of the sun. And so they would celebrate the strength of the human spirit and the sovereign soul on the equinox. And the Romans had that Saturnalia celebration with the feasting and the dancing and all the rest of it around that time. And they simply took those two things and married them together and set them forward. And you're going to have a mass on this day, and you're all going to get together, and you're going to give all your energy to your leaders, your priests, and then they're going to, you can do that. Anytime is a good time to celebrate a liberator of mankind, such as the Christ. And if you want to symbolically celebrate the liberation of humans and the human spirit and marry that to the sun's birth, go for it. But let's not pretend that it is other than what it truly is. Now, the cultural tradition has always been, before winter really hits, the very beginning of winter, which is right now, the cold months can be very dangerous in areas of the world where you get very harsh weather. And so the tradition is you go through your stocks, you go through your stores, you find what you have an excess of is just going to spoil before spring anyway. And you distribute it to your neighbors, your friends, your family who didn't have such a good year. Or, maybe you're going to have to stretch your supplies a little bit to do that, but you're going to gift to your neighbors, to your friends, to the people you love. Your neighbors, because you don't want them breaking into your house when they're starving. It's better to gift it, to let them know I care about you here, than have them feel that they have to preserve their life by breaking into yours. But the idea is it's a time of year when you let people know how much they mean to you, because you may not see them again. In our ancestors' time, when all of these traditions were created, you got snowed in. You didn't do long journeys to travel to see people. You didn't get to have meetings in the same way. So you had your celebrations, your parties when you're going into winter. That's when you saw people sometimes for the last time. You wouldn't know again until spring if they survived the 3 months of the harshest temperatures, the harshest living conditions. You all hunkered down. And a lot of us know what it's like to be isolated. So you had that togetherness during that celebration going into winter. Makes sense. Unfortunately, it's been turned into a a tradition of you have to buy things for everybody to show how much you love them. And please don't accelerate that and make that the way it is going forward. There are a lot of people who are undergoing difficult times economically. And so forcing them to prove their love, or stating that they have to prove their love by buying and buying and buying and putting themselves into debt, that just takes the whole reason for our celebration, which is about community and love and celebrating the sun's return. It makes it crushes it. Now, on to a difficult topic that I'm only going to briefly touch on, because I think I have to. When I moved to the Midwest, which is where I am now, and the season of the Christ Mass, Christmas, approached, I noticed just the general angst of the humans in my community and in my general area. While Christmas has always been angsty, I lived on the West Coast, it was angsty there. This was excruciating, and I couldn't figure it out until I talked to a wise friend who pointed out to me, honey, these folks believe that their loving deity created a child to torture and kill because he required that. And it's the cognitive dissonance with this is pretty ferocious. And it really comes out this time of year because they're reminded this time of year that the grand divine, their God, created a child to torture and kill for some reason that most of us don't understand. And if one of us had a child to torture and kill because other people were bad and they had to scapegoat that child, and that's the way we wouldn't put up with it if it were a human being doing this, but this is God, so they have to somehow justify it in their mind that it's okay. During Christmas, they're thinking about what's going to happen at Easter. They're looking at little baby thinking, this poor little child, the terrible things that are going to happen to it. And should I feel guilty about that? Because it happened because of me. And why was he punished because of me? And why do we have to be punished? And why were we created if we're going to be punished? And it just leads to a lot of difficult, angsty thoughts, which, if you are able to read the true translations of the Old Testament, the oldest translations of the Old Testament, in its language, its proper translation, before politics got a hold of it and started moving it around and changing it to fit their narrative, you would understand why that story played out the way it did. But most of us don't do that. Most of us can't do that because those documents are locked up in the Vatican, and there are very few people who have seen them and translated them. There is one person. He's gone on record. He talks freely to people now about what he discovered when the Vatican asked him to do this. It's quite interesting. But I've already shared enough for today. Stay warm, stay safe, and welcome to the woods.